Hello everyone, welcome to my Season 3, Episode 2 review of The Flash, titled Paradox. Before I go any further, I just want to specify that there will be spoilers in this review. This episode picks up right where the season premiere left off. Barry is back in his own timeline, but things have changed. We learned last week that Joe and Iris don't talk to one another, and in this episode we learn a few more things. We learned that Cisco and Barry don't have a great relationship as friends anymore because Cisco's brother died in a car accident and Barry refused to go back in time and save him. So this created a rift between the two. We also learned that Caitlin has apparently got her Killer Frost powers. When I saw that, I was surprised. I never thought we would actually get to see our Caitlin get the Killer Frost powers. I know last season on Earth 2 we saw the evil version of Caitlin as Killer Frost, so I'm not sure what they have in store for this character, but I can't wait to see. We also learned that Barry has a partner in the crime lab, played by Tom Felton. Tom Felton is an actor that I'm sure most people are familiar with for being Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter films. Similarly to his character in Harry Potter, he is kind of an evil, hateful person who hates Barry. We're not quite sure why, we just know that these two typically don't like each other. We also get more of Alchemy. We saw a small peek at him at the end of the last episode, and in this episode he kind of plays a more prominent role. We're getting a little bit more of what he is all about. He seemingly knows about the Flashpoint timeline. He is doing things to change the timeline that Barry is in currently to make it more like Flashpoint. Specifically in this episode, he gives the rival his speed powers. And he also gives the rival all of the memories of that Flashpoint timeline, which is very interesting because I am not quite sure how he's doing it, but I think we'll learn that later on. This begs the question, what other things is he going to change to make this timeline more like the Flashpoint timeline? One of the best parts of the episodes for me was when Barry has his encounter with Jay Garrick, portrayed by John Wesley Shipp. The lead up to it is that Barry wants to go back in time yet again to try to fix this timeline that he has created. And once I saw that, I was like, oh Barry, please don't do this, because as we are learning, time is a very delicate thing. The very smallest changes have large repercussions, and Barry needs to stop screwing with the space-time continuum. So when Jay Garrick showed up and basically told Barry that no matter what you do, you can never perfectly bring things back to the way they were. You have to work with what you have. You have to deal with the repercussions of your actions, which I'm glad that Barry came to this realization. In the first episode, I thought he was starting to get that, but in this episode, he definitely got that message. Specifically when he had that long speech, a bit of a monologue to the other members of Team Flash about what he actually did, about going back in time, saving his mother, creating that Flashpoint world, and now creating this one. I like the fact that he demonstrated in a very Back to the Future type way that, you know, he has his timeline, the Flashpoint timeline, and now he inadvertently has created this third timeline, and now he kind of has to live with it. He has to live with what he has done, and we are getting kind of a slow progression back to the timeline that we knew from last season. At least Joe and Iris are kind of reconciling a little bit. Cisco is slowly getting back to the Cisco we all know and love, because that was one of the aspects of the episode that really kind of irked me and depressed me, is to see Cisco in this very sad and melancholic, non-jovial mood, because he's very much the comic relief of the show, and he's a great character who brings a lot of levity to the show. Like I said earlier, the Killer Frost thing is going to be a new wrinkle for Caitlin's character, which I'm really happy they're doing, because Caitlin, of all of the characters, things don't seem to progress for her as much as they progress for others. She's gone through kind of a lot of personal things, but it seems to be the same things repeating itself. The relationship with Ronnie and losing him twice, and then last season being betrayed by the fake Jay Garrick. So it's nice to see her character being pushed in a new avenue. I'm also hoping we get more John Wesley Shipp as Jay Garrick in the show, because I really am interested in that version of the Flash. We didn't really get him last season at all, only a bit towards the very end, and I'm really hoping they use the Jay Garrick character as a mentor for Barry. How many times has Barry gone back in time and changed these characters and changed his world? That really needs to stop. I can't emphasize that enough. Flash really needs to stick with one timeline and work within it. They have to stop relying on kind of this time travel reboot formula that they keep doing. Also, we really need to move on from speedster villains, because we had Reverse Flash, we had Zoom, and now we had the Rival, and we also have Zoom back again. A different version of Zoom, but it's Zoom nonetheless, and I'm pretty sure he's going to show up again in the season. But that's where I think Alchemy comes in. Alchemy is a different type of villain that I think Barry has dealt with before. He's a very sinister villain. I have to say, the one thing about these Flash villains, they are very sinister. Their voices and their appearance are very villainous. But I'm not really quite sure what his endgame is. I'm not really quite sure where he came from. That's going to be something I'm interested for the show to explore, because where was he this whole time? Is he a result of Barry's tampering with time? I'm also curious where Dr. Wells is. We haven't seen him for the first 2 episodes. I'm curious. I know in the previews for the next episode he is back, but is he the same Dr. Wells from last season, or are things different? Overall, a good second episode, establishing new things, answering a lot of questions from the end of the first episode, getting a little bit more glimpse at Alchemy as the villain and what his plans are. So, with that being said, if you like this review, please stick around, because there will be a lot more reviews of the other superhero TV shows like Arrow, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Gotham, Supergirl, and maybe Legends of Tomorrow.